call this meeting to order. We're going to start off by excusing Mayor Hansen from sitting in the seat instead of me. You guys get to have me because she's not able to be here, and I get to be deputy mayor right now, so very exciting. I will try and do my best. We'll start with the emergency evacuation procedure. That is, if we should encounter an emergency, we can exit the building from the lobby either to the west or the east. If for some reason those exits are not available, we can use the north exit here behind council. Our muster point is located at the gazebo in Lions Park, and if we're evacuated for any reason, we won't re-enter the building until we're given the all clear by staff. We now have Councillor Rilling to do the land acknowledgement.
The town of Sylvan Lake respectfully acknowledges that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory, home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. These lands are traditional meeting grounds, gathering places, and travel routes for many nations, including the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Métis, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We acknowledge and thank all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
Thank you, Councillor Rilling. We have a couple of proclamations as well that we're going to read. And having not read a proclamation before, I'm a little excited. So our first proclamation is for Volunteer Week, April 27th to May 3rd, 2025. Whereas 24 million Canadian volunteers give their time to help others, contributing close to 5 billion volunteer hours per year. And whereas volunteers in Sylvan Lake mentor our children and youth, feed our hungry, comfort our lonely, assist to beautify our community, and fundraise for our charitable organizations. And whereas Sylvan Lake's volunteers are youth, families, workers, retirees, men and women of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas the collective result of the work done by our town's volunteers is that Sylvan Lake is a more desirable place to live. And whereas volunteers play a critical role in the community boards, supporting children, youth, and seniors, community cleanup and enhancement, as well as volunteer-supported programs. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jas Payne, Deputy Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the week of April 27th to May 3rd, 2025 as Volunteer Week in the town of Sylvan Lake, done at the town of Sylvan Lake on this day, the 24th of March, 2025. Do we vote on proclamations? No? Okay. Maybe I should pay attention in the future. Our second proclamation is Moose Hide Campaign Day, May 15th, 2025. Whereas the Moose Hide Campaign began in British Columbia as an Indigenous-led grassroots movement to engage men and boys in ending violence towards women and children, and whereas the Moose Hide Campaign has grown into a nationwide movement of Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians from local communities, First Nations, government, schools, colleges and universities, police forces, and many other organizations, all who are committed to taking action to end this violence. And whereas the Moose Hide is a symbol of taking a stand against violence and undoing the effects of residential schools through cultural traditions of generational teachings, becoming a symbol of a responsible and meaningful pledge. And whereas observing Moose Hide Campaign Day is a commitment to take action in honor of women and children everywhere, providing dignity and respect and a life free from violence. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jas Payne, Deputy Mayor of the town of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the date of May 15th, 2025 as Moose Hide Campaign Day in the town of Sylvan Lake, done here in Sylvan Lake on this day, the 24th day of March, 2025. Those are our proclamations. Next up, we have open microphone. Open microphone means there's a part of council each time in which residents of the town and persons owning property within the town may address any issues pertaining to the town. Each open mic session is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes. Each resident appearing before council during an open microphone session shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes of speaking time. Each resident requesting to speak during my open mic shall sign up in person immediately in advance of the meeting by providing their name, address, current contact information, and topic of discussion. The presenter must remain on topic and speak only about matters listed in this form. Councilors will only ask questions of clarification related to the matter raised by the open mic and will avoid repetition. So our first open mic today is Mr. Wade Colling, who is here to speak to us about parking and a few other things. So Wade, come on up and just turn the mic on there. I think you have to wait for a countdown. Little clock on the side here.
Good evening. Thanks for letting me rant, or speak, I mean. I was at the budget open house a couple of weeks ago, and I picked up the survey results, which I read, but one thing I noticed was on the pages where you have the charts, you've got 3 blue dots, and if you know what happens when you start getting a little older, I can't tell the difference between the shades of the blue dots, so they don't match the bars that are going up the thing. So I don't know if we can clarify that or something, but all the charts are the same. But something else I noticed on this in this booklet was there was a lot of suggestions about the taxes, collecting taxes with that, not having to put a whole bunch of money into it, and a lot of them is talked about parking, increase the paid parking areas, and some of them suggested even everything north of 47th Avenue should be paid parking. And it's quite possible one of the unintended consequences of doing that is anybody that does not have a driveway in front of their house, they park on the street in front of their house. And so they would come home and would have no place to park, and I don't know where they'd park at that point. Anyway, that's a possible unintended consequence. I'm not sure if you folks are thinking of going there or not. And the other thing about the tax dollars was it might be a bit of an unpopular thing, but I might suggest that people who own property in town but don't live in town should be charged a little more on their property tax. And also, unless owners actually live in their Airbnbs, the Airbnbs are a business, and they take away from a lot of the hotels, and they should be charged probably the same rate at what the hotels get charged, whatever that is. Just a suggestion. And something that I thought about, and I don't know if somebody's thought about it or what the deal is, but I did talk to a counselor at that meeting about the schools, and that night I had a meeting in Innisfail, and I talked to our MLA, and I asked him about the fact that you have to secure the property and services have to be brought to the property line before the province will release any money to build a school. So I'm looking at these huge tracts of land that are currently being developed, and I'm wondering, in the negotiation process with the developer, get them to set aside a piece of land for a school, and before they start building, make sure the first thing they do is bring the services to the property line, and then they can build away. Just a thought. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Next up, we have Mr. Mike Détoré, who's going to speak to us about the 2025 operating budget.
Your Worship, Councillor, good evening. Sometimes you do not know if you should laugh or cry. AIR 1125 in its background section states, if the proposed tax rate increase for 2025 is adopted by Council, combined with the higher anticipated assessment, the result will be an additional $1.55 million tax dollar more than currently needed to fund the 2025 budget. Wow, that's good. except that this means that us, the taxpayer, will contribute too much for 2025, but not necessarily a bad thing, as this bonanza is reserved for 2026. However, a few lines later, the discussion section states, the town of Sylvan Lake requires additional tax revenue and higher utility rate to fund both operating and capital budget. So, this is sort of a pretty obvious contradiction. It sounds very much like it doesn't matter how much money the town collects, including any expected windfall, the town will always ask for more. In the same document, in its alignment section, it contains the usual guiding principle: municipal decision-making process and communication will be transparent and understandable. That's good. However, the following 6 tables, page 107 to 112, and this is those tables, fantastic. You can read it from where you are, I'm sure, are unreadable to the naked eye, and this table contains the core material to decide how and how much the town will choose to tax us for 2025. And it is not that this table contains too much data, just a few lines on column lost in the immensity of a wide page. I would assume that the public really do not need to know. I just hope Councillor received a better printout. Respectfully submitted, Mike Détare.
Thank you, Mr. Détare. I'm sure if you ask the right individual, you could probably get a graph that's actually readable without a magnifying glass.
Sorry?
I think you could probably get a better graph if you ask for one, I'm sure. Because I'm pretty sure we've seen ones that are a little more readable. But I understand what you're saying. So we can help you get a graph, a set of graphs that are a little more readable than those ones.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have adoption of the agenda. Ms. Osmond, is there anything else that needs to be added to the agenda?
There are no additions at this time.
Okay. So before we let's actually adopt the agenda. Then I have something else I need to ask. So, Councillor Ridding?
I move that we adopt the agenda
Excellent.
as presented.
All in favor? Good. Okay. So I'm going to go off script a little bit here because for the last while we've had the absolute blessing in this community of having Miss Osmond back with us. She's been our interim CAO, and we have a new CAO who's going to be starting with us on April 1st. So we are going to once again lose Miss Osmond. So I would like to very much take this opportunity to, first of all, publicly express my sincere gratitude and my affection for the person you are and the amazing CAO that you are, but also just a huge thank you for being as wonderful as you are for people like me who may need a little bit of an extra push and a little bit of an extra jaunt. But thank you very much for what you've done for the community and what you continue to do. And I love the fact that you are such an important part of this community. So thank you. I'm going to clap.
Thank you. May I? Just very quickly, I'd like to thank council because I certainly do enjoy working with you, have enjoyed working with you again, and I enjoyed being in this role in the community. You know, I think it's very worthwhile work, and there's so much good things that get done here every day. And I do want to thank all the staff. I had considerable support from the staff in terms of getting up to speed on things and helping to get things done while I was here. So I certainly thank them for helping me be a success with you. So thank you.
Very cool. One of my favorite people. Okay, next up we have the consent agenda. The consent agenda, for those of us who are unaware of what a consent agenda is, it's an opportunity for us to approve a series of things that are really not in need of debate. However, if there's any consent agenda item that council would like to have removed from the consent agenda, now would be a good time to speak up. I believe Mayor Hansen, who is with us online, may have one.
Yes, please. I'd like to request that we remove the 2025 project work plans for economic development, just because I have a detailed question.
Okay, so we will remove the 2025 Economic Development Work Plan. That's the one, right? Okay, so we will remove that one. As for the rest of the consent agenda, is there anyone who would like to move the consent agenda? Okay. I was going to say Councillor Shireen, but I was actually just going to say Shireen, but I think in a formal setting. Councillor Dakin.
You can call me whatever you need, Jazz. It's quite long-winded, so bear with me. I move that the 2025-0305 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes be approved as presented. I move that the 2025-0310 regular meeting of council minutes be approved as presented. I move that the council repeal the operating surplus allocation policy F-003-013 as outlined in report AIR 1122. And I move that council grants first reading to bylaw 1920-2025, being a bylaw to amend the town's land use bylaw to add commercial schools as a discretionary use within the medium density residential district R2 on lot 11, block 8, plan 242-0906. And finally, that council sets April 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers as the date, time, and place for the public hearing on bylaw 1920-2025 as requested in AIR 1131.
Excellent. All in favor? Any opposed? That is good. Excellent. Okay, let's move on to number 7A, appointment to the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library Board.
Meeting minutes.
What? Sorry?
The minutes.
Minutes. Didn't we just do that?
No, that was the.
It's not in the consent agenda.
You'll be good.
Minutes are done. We did them in the consent agenda. I was paying attention. See, look at that. Paying attention. Okay, so I'm going back to where I was, appointment to the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library Board.
Good evening, Council. Tonight, I am joined with Haley from the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library Board. So once I'm done going over the report part, if you have any questions, she's here to answer them from on the library side. So the Town of Sylvan Lake Council appoints members of the public to the Sylvan Lake Library Board in accordance with Library Act and the Library Bylaw, 1809-2020. Currently, the Sylvan Lake Library Board has 5 vacant positions. The Board of Directors of the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library Board met and reviewed at their meeting on March 12th, 2025, in which they recommended the following applicants be appointed to the board with a term expiring on October 31st, 2027. So we have Maria Dutton, Susan Sampson, Corrine Pollock, and Jessica McMurran. And so administration's recommendation is that council appoints the individuals listed below to the Sylvan Lake Library Board for a term to expire on October 31st, 2027. That's Maria Dutton, Susan Sampson, Corrine Pollock, and Jessica McMurran. So you guys have any questions, comments?
Any questions? No? Does anyone like to make a motion? Excellent.
I move that council appoint Maria Dutton, Susan Sampson, Corrine Pollock, and Jessica McMurran to the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library Board for a term to expire October 31st, 2027, as per report AIR 1129.
Excellent. Any questions, any debate? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Excellent. That's passed.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have... I threw away my agenda. got it. Next up, we have the council remuneration policy amendments. Who would like to present those? Excellent.
You just bear with me a moment. I seem to have lost my marker in there for that page. Page 49. Yes. I did have one time. So these are not really substantial changes to the policy, but they're in response to conversations with council with regard to trying to come up with some changes with regard to any remuneration or claims as to how councils deal with these things. So it's basically just putting into the policy what that would look like. So there's, and with the recommendation from legal was the best way basically to enshrine this kind of change was to do it in a policy amendment. So, so what we have here is three changes. One is basically the policy statement, which is essentially indicating that it's not just about how council is remunerated, but also about they wish to instill public confidence and transparency in the process. So it's just a general statement to cover the two changes that are coming in. The other one has to do with the council salary and allowance adjustments and the submitting time for remuneration. So basically what we're doing is setting a specific timeline for the submission of claims through our payroll system. And it just ensures that they're done in a timely way. And that does two things for the town. One is that it increases accuracy because the longer they're delayed, the more likely people are to make errors. And it also prevents any loss of time or resources from having to, staff needing to reopen systems and do things like that. Now, the intent is still to keep it very simple and that there will be plenty of support, particularly for when council come on new, to make sure that they have all the assistance they need to do this. So that's the primary intent there. And with regard to meeting attendance, it's simply indicating that councillors just confirm their attendance and that essentially they confirm that and that there's a requirement to report in the manner that's approved by council. It's anticipated that that would change from time to time, and it's not meant to be like a 15-day report. We're looking for a short, very concise thing, basically that will say, did anything happen that affects the strategic plan, might it affect the town budget, those types of things. So we tried to make it as practical as possible for people who have a lot of demands on their time, but still incorporate the extra accountability that you wanted to build in. So these are the changes, and we're submitting them for your discussion and approval.
Okay, so at this point, is there any questions for Ms. Osmond for clarification? No? Somebody like to make the motion? Councillor Mearns.
I make a motion that council adopts the council remuneration policy as presented in report AIR 1102.
Any further conversation? Any further discussion? Megan, is your hand up?
It is, yes. I'd just like to propose a slight adjustment to the policy under item 8A. I'd like it to say councillor must track and submit their per diems in the town of Sylvan Lake's electronic time tracking software by 12 p.m. on the third day of the following month. Did send an email note on this, but this just really allows for the approval of that to take place on a weekday, so it's not a special trip in for numerous months that it lands over the weekend when needed. And that's pretty consistent with our current practice. Currently, it's actually the second by 12 p.m., so this is even an additional day from that.
Okay, I think I've always assumed it was the second business day, which is probably why I'm being told I'm late all the time.
It is not, I can confirm, it is the actual day of the month. So
Well,
this
excellent.
would just help give us a bit of a buffer there.
Well, I just want to apologize to whoever does my payroll. I'm sorry about that.
Clarity is good. Certainly from staff perspective, that works just fine, and
Okay.
certainly it is the way we are doing it now.
Okay. Well, with that addition, is there anyone who would like to? Did we make a motion already? We did. So is that a friendly? We don't do friendly things anymore.
If I may, the one thing I probably should have emphasized, that there is a provision in here that the difference from what we're doing now, of course, is that you have to make that submission by that date, and if you don't, then basically there is no future payments. So it puts a lot of onus on counselors. So I just want to be very clear to everyone that that is a big change from what was there before. Now, obviously, there's provisions if there's extenuating circumstances for that to be accommodated. So
Maybe I don't like this policy.
yeah, sorry, I wanted to highlight that part, and I should have. So.
Okay, Councillor Dakin.
I would like to say that the changes that were made on the IT side were great, and I have not been kicked out since. So this shouldn't be a problem as long as as long as there is no technical problems, because to not get paid over that, right?
Well, that is absolutely the case, and one of the things we discussed, for instance, is, you know, we'll take that information in any way. If you want to send it in a paragraph, or we'll give you a very simple form or whatever, like we're not concerned how it comes in, and we will make it possible. If there's any glitch on our end,
Yeah.
we will own that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I hope to not annoy you in the future with any IT issues.
Well, I know these things are difficult for everybody, but I can say from a staff perspective, you do get used to it. So.
Are there any further discussion pieces? Okay, so let's call the question. All in? As amended.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I will make that same motion as amended.
Okay. So all in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's passed. Okay, next up we have the visitor pay parking program. So Mr. Lebsack.
Deputy Mayor, Council. As we have in front of us here, I won't go into all the details of the background there. I'm sure everybody understands the details of the paid parking program. In February, council members were inquiring about specific aspects of the visitor paid parking program and requested an update on the 2025 program. So that's what this one is today, is an update on the 2025 program as we see it coming into effect on May 15th of this year. So. The visitor paid parking program in 2024 was quite successful, generating net revenue of $524,000, which was an increase of 22% over 2023. Looking at the past 5 years parking session numbers, you can see the increase there with just 2023 being a little bit of an anomaly. So we went from 50,000 plus to 71,000 plus. In 2022, we dropped down to 58, and then we went back up to 70, and this past year was 94,000, almost 95,000. So again, there was a couple of those years there that we had added some parking zones in, which is what gave rise to some bigger increases in parking numbers. In 2024, the visitor paid parking program added the additional zone, which was Lakeshore Drive west of Centennial Street. Which, again, I just mentioned contributed to the dramatic rise in the parking sessions. Paid parking net revenues are managed to fund staff and maintenance requirements in the downtown and to maintain a paid parking reserve. As you can see right there is 320,000 plus in 2024 of a minimum of 1 year operating costs for the program. So that's kind of the benchmark that we've set out, is we would never go under 1 year's operating costs. Visitor paid parking program provided funding in 2024 for staffing in the downtown with 4 seasonal bylaw officers, 8 seasonal parks maintenance operators, plus a portion of administrative staff for the Municipal Enforcement Department and the Parks Department. There have been a number of downtown enhancements or maintenance initiatives over the years that have been funded through the visitor paid parking program, including composting garbage bins, a beach tractor, Lakeshore Drive tree lights, parks furnishings, body cameras for municipal enforcement, a steam cleaner washer for the washrooms, and golf cart and side-by-sides to assist parks operators and municipal enforcement officers. So I think I sound like a broken record talking about this program every year, but basically what we do is we take the paid parking revenues, we put it back into operating, maintenance, and enforcement of the downtown, with that extra bit going into reserves to make sure that we maintain a reserve of at least 1 year's operating. So that's what the paid parking program was established for, and continues to maintain that downtown. In Recreation, Culture, Tourism's ongoing communication with the downtown committees, no complaints were received by the Tourism Department about the 2024 paid parking program through the Tourism Partnership Program or their Tourism Development Committee. And I mean, by that, obviously, we don't mean that nobody ever made a complaint or anything like that, but there was no formal complaints lodged by a business or a group of businesses to either one of those committees that run and help maintain the downtown core. So, positive feedback was received from the Tourism Development Committee on the impact of private parking lots, in particular through the independent initiative of local businesses to post tow-away signage featuring a local tow company in private lots. So that was new this year too. We worked with a local tow company, and independently of the town, they managed those lots for private businesses downtown. And according to the businesses, it worked very well. The last thing I wanted to touch on was we also reached out to the Kennebec Society recently for feedback. They had their annual meeting in July of 2024 and brought up their position of paid parking again. And as you can see there, they confirmed their position that they do not wish to have visitor paid parking program in the area of the Kennebec Society. We do not have any issues with that as well from an enforcement standpoint. I don't know that we would have any more than 5 calls for service down there in any given year, and that was when the paid parking program was in effect down there, and the last 2 years that it hasn't been in effect down the year. So I don't see any issue with the system the way it sits right now. Again, we've talked about resource impacts already, and as this is, again, an update on the proposed 2025 program, I will leave it there for council. We brought this forward as information and leave it there for any questions the council may have.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Levsack. Are there any questions from council? I know, Mayor Hansen, you had one.
I do. I don't know if it fits in questions, but I guess I'm curious from council if there's any appetite to expand the program outside of downtown. Was my biggest question. I think that there could be a real place for this in our Bregattle Park site as we pave new areas in the upcoming years, and it's a real loss. It's no cost to our residents. But there certainly are a lot of visitors. So I'll use the really specific example of last year. We did a chatting with the council event up there, and we went around and chatted with all the families that were there on a random Thursday afternoon. And about half of the ones we spoke to came from Calgary, Edmonton, or other places. And I just think it's a real lost revenue opportunity when we're always looking for ways to increase revenue and decrease taxes.
Okay, council, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd definitely be willing to explore that, especially when it doesn't affect our residents. If there's opportunities that we can expand, whichever, whether it's Bregattle Park or other areas within town, definitely would be interested in that.
Councillor Nakin?
Yeah, I agree. I echo that. I would also like to touch and add that I saw it in Megan's notes, but it wasn't really brought up about not having it on Gulls game nights. I wouldn't want paid parking for Gulls game nights for the first couple of years for sure. I think it would really, really affect their business. Might have a negative feeling for them. It's not paved yet. It's, you know, like there's no real added benefit yet. But I think once it's paved, we could visit the idea of doing it on game nights. But I definitely am open to having it down there on anything but game nights.
I think it's an opportunity, especially once they get paved as we move along. but they aren't done yet. So once they get paved, and I stay away from Gulls games nights for sure. Now, that being said, a little apprehensive on the fact that a visiting ball club comes into town, minor ball, and they're going to play at a diamond, and all of a sudden the coaches and parents are all having to pay to come to play, and I don't think that happens anywhere else that I know of. So that's my only worry about that.
I'm not against it, but I feel like until Pagado Park is done, I really don't want to entertain it. It's too, I mean, if it's paid parking in some places and not others, then there will be a fight for the, for the piece of dirt on the side, and it'll, I just think once it can be organized and systemized into a system, I think it will be more effective, but that's just my opinion.
Got an additional piece?
Yeah, I completely changed my mind after Councillor Parsons spoke, because it's true, the kids' sports don't need to be any more expensive, so I'm against it. I don't want it anymore, for now.
I was going to say I don't like speaking last, but apparently I'm not last. Sitting in this chair, Megan's really hard because honestly, you have to listen to everybody before you get to speak up. That's difficult. I don't like the idea of Pagado Park at all being paid parking. Simply because if you look at the usability of Pagado Park, it's to bring people into the community. And if we're saying that everyone coming into the community is immediately going to be taxed if you're coming to the ball diamonds, the volleyball courts, the football field in the future, that's, to me, that's a reason to encourage teams not to come. And I think, yeah, and so I think that it's, there's a lesson to be learned here, and I think that's a part that is difficult. We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot in building something that's going to draw people to the community, only to have them not want to come to the community. Because I think about other places. I think about Great Chief Park in Red Deer. I think about ME Global in Lacombe. You don't pay for parking to use that facility. You pay to use the facility, but you don't pay for parking for it. So I'm not a big fan of the idea for Pagado. I think there are possibly other places within the community that paid parking could possibly be implemented, but I'm not in favor of Pagado, at least not until Pagado is complete. When it's complete, when the parking lots are paved, maybe at that point it becomes a different conversation we have at that point. Councillor Mearns?
Council entertain looking at baby steps and maybe splash park area. It's complete. We see a lot of use there, both in town and out of town, and maybe as a trial to see how it goes. Is that something council would entertain?
Yeah. Once everything's complete, I think then we can look at it then. I don't think now. It
seems to be the sentiment around the horseshoe. A lot of nods. Yeah.
My hands up.
Your hands up?
I just want to say I am in support, happy to be outvoted on this one. But the camping spray park side, it is quite common that you pay to go to other spray parks. Red Deer is a great example of that. I need to pay to park as an out-of-town resident. But also camping overflow parking, I expect any campground I go to have that be a cost. And I think that side of it, I'm not sure how many stalls are there, but that's not what's used by folks that are coming in to play sports. That is a portion of that parking lot. And similar to how we run the paid parking program in other places, you can park for free, you just have to walk a little bit further.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely think if exploring the possibility is not making a commitment, so, let's explore the possibility and have staff put something together and, see where it goes. Any other thoughts? Any other concerns? Well, we need a motion. Sorry, Ms. Osmond? I don't, have we had a motion for the report? No motion yet, yeah. Okay, so you have more thoughts?
I would rather than, if we're talking about making a motion, is to explore charging on 50th Ave in front of all the residential housing there. Because I thought we talked about it in great lengths before, but I think this could be the year where we explore it. Because there is a lot of revenue potential along 50th Ave specifically, maybe not those roads on the inlets, like on all the streets, but the 50th Ave is tons of parking there, all the way down forever. So I think that's where we're gonna get our most bang for our buck with people that are coming to use the beach, which is what this is for.
Thoughts about that?
Mr. Lebsack, timing-wise, do we have enough time being where we're at in the year to do something like that on 50th, or is that sort of a discussion for 2026 potential?
Through the chair, I'm sure we can get something back at the next meeting. And then I believe we could put it in place then. I think that would probably be kind of the latest date in order to get some changes into our hotspot management system, because then they have to go into their computer and do their thing in it as well. So if we can get something back for the next meeting, which again, 50th Street, we've presented in the past, so we can pull those numbers up and just revise, or 50th Avenue, and just revise those numbers, because we'll just update them to current dollar figures instead of the numbers from the past, I think 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so we're still looking for a motion. Councillor Mearns, did you have more you wanted to add to that?
I do not, but we need to make a motion first on the presentation and then a second motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start.
Motion for Mr. Lebsack's report. Make the motion that the council accept the visitor pay parking report AIR 1127 as information as presented.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Waiting for Megan. There you go. Excellent. That's passed. And subsequent motion? I've written something up kind of while I was going, so I can do that. I move that council instruct staff to explore expanding paid parking on 50th Ave and Pagoddle Park. Is that an acceptable motion? Excellent. Any more discussion? No? Okay, all in favor? Excellent. That is passed. Okay. Next up, we have a request to award an RFP swimming pool filter tank replacement project. Ms. Calicott.
Good evening, Council. So I am here to request Council's approval to award the RFP for the swimming pool filter tank replacement project. So last year, Council did approve capital funding in the amount of $560,000. We were able to work with the Sylvan Lake Nauticals to secure the Community Facility Enhancement Program funding, and we were successful in receiving $307,250. So in total, for the project, we have $867,250. In February, we posted the opportunity on the Alberta Purchasing Connection website, and we had one submission come through. That submission was from Automated Aquatics Canada. They have submitted a bid for $647,884,000. Now, we are requesting an additional $100,000 from council in contingency. With the tariffs that may or may not be coming, we're really not sure how that can impact. So the filter tanks, for example, the pumps that are coming, the VFDs, that equipment is coming from the States, and some of the raw materials are also coming. So the valves, for example, are manufactured in Canada. However, the raw materials to create those valves do come from the States, and we are anticipating that there could potentially be some tariffs to come down. Now, the equipment does take some time to make, so we put the order in, let's say next week. It could take 3-4 months, and we're just not certain exactly what's going to happen happen at that time. So that's why we're requesting that $100,000 contingency. We don't anticipate any issues with the project or anything like that. It would just simply be for any of those tariffs that may be coming. So we are requesting council awards the swimming pool filter tank replacement project to Automated Aquatics Canada Limited of Edmonton, Alberta for the amount not exceeding $747,884 excluding GST. And I am happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions from council? Nothing? Okay, so we're looking for a motion. Councillor Parsons.
I'm over here.
All by yourself in the corner.
Move that council award the swimming pool filter tank replacement project to Automated Aquatics Canada Limited of Edmonton, Alberta for the amount not exceeding $747,884 excluding GST.
Okay, any discussion on that motion? Councillor Dakin.
I just want to say really good job on getting this money. Very good job. Yeah.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. All in favor? And that is passed. Excellent. Okay, we have another request to award a tender. This is for the 2025 Roadway Rehabilitation Program. So, Mr. Watson.
Good evening, Council. We are here to request Council approval to award the tender for the annual Roadway Rehabilitation Program, which has a budget of $300,000. This year, Cottonwood Drive and Cottonwood Court are planned for repairs. The project includes sidewalk and curb repairs adjacent to the roadway and the milling and installation of a new pavement surface. A map of the project location is found as attachment 1. On March 13th, the administration received and reviewed proposals from 6 vendors and scored those submissions based on the criteria included within the RFP. The submission from Border Paving of Red Deer had the highest score based on that criteria and had the lowest submitted price of just over $181,000. The submitted cost excludes a $40,000 contingency, which is necessary should there be incidental costs such as a road base repair that may arise due to its age and structure, bringing the total project value to about $222,000. Administration is satisfied with all aspects of the proposal and respectfully recommends awarding the 25 roadway rehabilitation tender to Border Paving for an amount not to exceed $222,000, including contingency. Thank you.
Excellent. Do we have any questions for Mr. Watson? None. Okay. Excellent report, Mr. Watson. You got everyone fully informed. Do we have a motion on the floor? Yeah, Councillor Rilling.
I make a motion that council awards the tender for the 2025 roadway rehabilitation program to Border Paving Limited of Red Deer, Alberta for an amount not to exceed $222,000, including $40,000 contingency and excluding the GST, as presented in report AIR 1104.
Excellent. So any discussion? No? Okay. You got a little bit of conversation.
Yeah, it's just great to see so many people competing instead of just 2. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that we got to see 6 people up this time.
Excellent. Well, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And opposed? Okay, that is passed. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Watson. We've got a few more minutes before our scheduled recess. So, Mr. Moore, you didn't have to wait through the recess this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council, how are you this evening? Good, good. We've got a little nice surprise for you coming up that'll segue nicely into recess.
Recess or running away?
So with this report, we're looking for an update to the 25 operating capital projects budget, essentially. So these are the carryovers from prior year, 2024, and before, previously, that we bring forth to council every year at this time. So both operating and capital projects are listed there. Hopefully you can hear me speak into the mic a bit more. Yeah, so there's the listing of capital projects as well as the operating, and the funding has been identified as well. So that too carries over with the project. So what we'll do with this list is if it's a standalone project, it'll just carry over as is. If it's if there's new funding added for 2025, the projects will be combined. When you'll see that in the first quarter financial report. So there's one change we'd like to propose and get council's feedback on how they wish to handle it tonight. But before we get to that, just looking to see if there's any questions from council on the carryovers.
Okay. Councillor Deegan?
Thank you. Should we be putting off things like the fire engine just because of the tariffs? Like, that's a big $1.4 million price tag budget item, and just a little concerned. Tell me to not be concerned.
Well, the purchase order and the contract for that purchase was done, of course, a year or two ago, and so I'm assuming it's fixed price. I don't know if any pending tariffs will affect that. I'm not sure if Mr. Lebsack would know anything about that, or Mr. McIntyre maybe can speak to any of those items.
Currently, we've been informed that it is a fixed price and tariffs will not impact it. So that's all we know.
Oh, is that right? Sorry. Good point.
He's coming, he's coming.
Yes, Council. So we have been in contact with our sales rep many times since the word of tariffs arose. And that's what we've been told throughout the conversations, is that it is a fixed price. It will not affect anything as far as the overall price of it goes. The only thing, again, that you don't know about, is there anything that has to do with delivery or anything like that. But as far as the actual contract for the engine goes, it is a fixed price.
Excellent.
But the tariffs will trigger when they come through. It'll just go to Canada Revenue, so the bill will still be payable to us, won't it? Or am I wrong?
So again, as far as we understand, the bill, the invoice for it, is a fixed price. So anything that the tariffs are doing right now is going to impact the company, but it won't impact us because we already have a signed agreement with them.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion on the floor? Councillor Mearns?
I make a motion that council approve AR 1123, amending the 2025 budget by updating operating capital projects to include carryovers from the prior years.
Mr. Moore?
Proceeds with that. There's one amendment we'd like to propose, and we can do it this evening if you so wish, or have Mr. Lebsack bring back a report to the next meeting. So there's one project that was kind of overlooked, CP 2408, which was the bucket truck. Just due to a change in plans, that was not purchased in 2024, but they wanted to carry that funding forward and reallocate it to another purchase of 2 more vehicles, I believe it was. So maybe I'll let Ron speak to that.
Sure, Council. So I can provide some more background on that. So that was a bucket truck for our landscape arborist crew. It was a specified, not just a regular bucket truck, but it was an arborist bucket truck that we spec'd out. We did tender it out. It came in at just shy of $265,000. So for anybody that's looking at the dollar figure on their page, that was significantly more than what we had budgeted at $160,000. So we canceled that RFP, that tender. did not go forward with the bucket truck, had some conversations internally, and purchased 2 half-tons with it instead, both of them at roughly $55,000. So we're in at roughly $110,000 instead of out of the $160,000 budget. But we figured we could get just as much, if not more, use out of 2 half-tons as opposed to that one bucket truck for landscaping.
Okay. Yeah.
So what's the solution then? Do we still need something to do the landscaping, or what's the solution for the landscaping need?
So the solution for landscaping is one of those trucks will be dedicated for our landscaping, just for kind of landscaping arborist stuff. Anything that is so large, we would then just use a contractor to do that for us. And again, I think that would maybe be, if we go over what's been done in the past years, that's maybe twice a year, is when we get something that is, you know, a tree that's large enough, that's overhanging a building or a street or power lines or something that we just can't get up there and safely do it from our location, then we would hire a contractor for it. Like I said, roughly twice a year. Other than that, we're trained and have the ability to fall trees, regardless of size. It's just as long as they're not in direct vicinity of something dangerous that we'd need a bucket truck for.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? How does this change the motion? Are we going to need to? Because really, you've just reallocated funds from.
Well, we would just like to propose to carry forward CP 2408 and reallocate those funds to the vehicles Mr. Lebsack just spoke to.
Propose to reallocate.
I think the budget was 160,000. Yeah.
From CP 2408, right?
Correct.
Where are we reallocating those two on paper?
I'm sorry?
Where are we reallocating those two on paper? Like, how do I write that as a motion?
Just as amended, the capital project listing carryovers to include 2408, CP 2408 for $160,000.
Okay. Does somebody have that?
I hope so.
Yeah? Okay, would somebody like to make that motion? Tim's writing.
Okay, bear with me. Make the motion that council approve AR 1123, amending the 2025 budget by updating operating capital projects to include carryovers from prior years and reallocating the budget to CP 2408 for $160,000.
Sound good? Okay, any more discussion? All in favor? And opposed? Good, it's moved. Excellent. It is 2 minutes to 7 o'clock, so we're going to take a recess so I can catch my breath for until 7:10. 12 minutes, you'll be fine. let's see, where are we? 7G, no, 7H. Mr. Moore, you get to keep going.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, here we are. We made it. Hopefully tonight, council can approve the 2025 operating budget after a long journey. A lot of information provided here in this report tonight for council. As you likely noticed at the bottom of the report, we did not give you a total number. So what we were planning tonight was whatever options, combination of options council chooses. Tonight, we could quickly make those changes. Ms. Watney's joined me so we can make those changes in our budgeting program. And after maybe about a 10-minute break, and then provide you with a number, a total final number for the 2025 operating budget to approve. Or we can, if council wishes, put off approval of the 2025 operating budget till the next meeting, the regular meeting of council, which would be April 14th. So the 2025 proposed budget included a 3.38 municipal tax rate increase for both residential and non-residential properties. Utility rates are also proposed to increase. Speaking largely just to the tax side this evening, the 2025 budget was prepared on the assumption that market values on existing properties will increase by 3%, and that new construction or assessment growth was estimated to be 65 million. Now that we've got the final numbers in and balanced, we saw significant increases over those, what was estimated in the budget. So the overall market value increase on existing properties was 8.5%, and new construction or growth added to the tax base was $127.3 million. Just a couple of comments there about where we saw the biggest changes in the growth. We'll get into that. Provincial education taxes have increased significantly for the 2025 taxation year. The total requisition to be paid by Sylvan Lakers this year is $8,240,905. Last year it was just under 7.5, so it's an increase of $791,908, or 11%. So largest increase in over 20 years. The Sylvan Lake Foundation has increased its requisition for 2025 by 5.8% to $430,450. So moving into the scenarios, I guess, if the proposed tax rate in the 2025 budget is adopted by council at 3.38%, combined with the higher than anticipated assessments, the result would be an additional $1.55 million tax dollars more than is currently needed to fund the budget. Administration has provided some options for council to consider attached to the report. There's also some additional resources they needed that have come up since the interim budget was passed and the draft budget was approved for circulation to the public. That's also attached to the report. Those total $342,800. Those are outlined in your report on page 106. Does council have any questions on any of those items?
Yeah, sorry, reading. Okay, let's get started with the discussion. Is there any questions for Mr. Moore for clarity before we move on to a motion? No? So let's get to a motion. Well, actually, getting to a motion, we can't do a motion. We had to wait until we figure things out. Got to figure things out first. So
Would council like me to go through the options at all, or?
Let's go through the options.
Briefly, okay.
Yeah.
So with option one, so this is to leave the core municipal tax rates unchanged from, for 2025 from the prior year. This generates an additional 750,000 tax dollars over that which is needed for the 2025 budget. This option also includes raising the recreation levy from the current $894,000 to $1 million annually. It includes raising the transportation levy from the current $700,000 annually to $900,000 annually. So as you can see, so the additional 750 is there. If we reduce that by the adjustments that I just spoke of, that will leave an unallocated amount of $407,000 and $200. So with this option, council has a little over $400,000 to allocate to some reserves for future capital requirements. Some examples are parks capital, admin capital, or building maintenance. As with this option and all the rest of them, there's some sample properties chosen in various areas throughout town, and the total change in the tax bill for those sample properties from 2024 to 2025, based on the tax rates, as you can see outlined to the side, as proposed for this option. Option number two, similar thing, except to leave the core municipal rate unchanged once again. This still generates $750,000 additionally, but this option does not include an increase to the recreation or transportation levy. Those would remain unchanged at the 2024 levels. And again, just a summary of the effects on those properties. It would still leave $407,000, $200 unallocated for council's decision on what reserve to put that to. Option three is to increase the core municipal tax rate by 1% over 2024, still less than the 3.38 that was originally proposed in the 2025 budget. So this generates an additional $978,000 in tax dollars over and above what's needed to balance the 2025 budget. Now this option includes, once again, raising the recreation and transportation levies as outlined to the same amounts, $1,900,000 annually. And so this leaves about $635,000 additionally, which would have to be allocated to reserve. Moving on to option four. So this one, again, a little variation is to increase the core rate by 1%, but leave the recreation and transportation levies unchanged from 2024. Again, it still leaves $635,000 to be allocated to reserve, but the effect on the average, or not, I should not say average property, on a sample property there, as you can see in the report, is less because the recreation and transportation levies are not going up. Option number five. So this option is to reduce the core municipal tax rate by 1.8% for 2025 from last year. So, and this does not include a recreation or transportation levy increase. And so all this would do is balance the budget, as you can see, and pay for those additional items at $342,800. And the last option, similar, reducing the core rate by 1.8%. So there's no additional funds to be allocated to reserve, but this one would see the options to the option to increase the recreation and transportation levy to those levels as mentioned in the other options. So if there's any questions on those options, I'd be happy to try to answer them. So go.
This is great. I was really excited to see these numbers come back because that is what I was anticipating. So thank you for these options, first and foremost. For me, without a doubt, I think that our municipality needs it. I sit on the community hub and I listen to all the needs in our community from the 5 pillars. So for me to be able to see this and for us to give a gift back to the municipality would be reducing the core municipal rate by 1.8%. Like that is the only answer for me. So option 5 is the one that stands out to me, and I would not deviate from that, even 2%.
But option 5 is?
The one that's minus 1.8 and then no more levies.
Option 5, yeah.
So I'm sorry, I just need clarity on this then. Yeah. So option 5, because going back to Mr. Detorre's comment earlier tonight, my bifocals are not near good enough to get through this. I'm working at it. So option 5 is setting the rate at 1.8%. No, reducing it so it's down to 2.
Reducing, yeah.
So it's 2%.
Almost.
See, it's reducing the entire rate by 1.8%.
That reducing the 2024 rate.
By 1.8%, so a tax cut of 1.8%.
Reduced.
I know what reduced means.
I don't understand. Are we going negative from 0 from what we're at? Sorry.
No, the reduction is 1.8% of the 2024 rate.
Yes, that's what I understood it.
So we're going
down.
2025. We're going down.
Down.
That's how much the increase was.
Yeah, but the increase was 3.8. Was 3.8 or
3.38.
3.38.
That's what was proposed for 2025. Yeah.
See, but option 5 and option 6 put us in a situation where we have nothing going back into reserves. And that's, the situation we're in as far right now is our reserves are dwindling dramatically, or we don't have reserves, period. So I don't think that's a reasonable thing to do. Any other thoughts? Hang on. Yeah.
I do if I can.
Okay, Megan?
I'm just wondering if we have considered, with the exciting news that we're at least on the tracks for a new high school, have we accounted for the additional costs that we expect over the next year to ensure that that site is at the stage that we need it to be ready for? I was surprised not to see that in the additional budget items for council's consideration.
I can try to address that question the best I can. I may need some help. So I believe the funding is in place and the projects are in place already for this year, 2025, and going forward to address the development of that property as well as servicing it. So I'm not sure any additional funds are required at this time, but once tenders go out and all that stuff, that may change. I don't know if Ms. Devlin wants to add anything to that.
No, that's correct. Servicing has been included actually in 2026 budget for the servicing that's required. And there is additional funds that were allocated, actually identified in capital of 2024 that have been carried over into this year's budget for getting the site ready. However, all of that will be borrowing, just so council knows.
Okay. Okay. So with this, looking at these options, when I look at option number 5, number 6, this idea of a tax cut, from 2024 rate, so the 2025 will be 1.8% lower than 2024 was. I look at that and I think that's a ridiculously awesome thing, but it puts us in a situation where we are absolutely maintaining the line, and nothing is going back into the reserves that we've exhausted over the course of the last few years. There are so many reserves that have been taken out, and they're getting so small. And I think, you had said something, Councillor Dakin, about it jumping to 8%. I don't think that's what the 8% is. I think the 8% is what the assessment increase came back as. We were expecting 3%, it came back as 8% increased. So that to me simply means our assessment rate is, or our assessment possibility is significantly higher, so we're getting more. I don't think having a budget that rides the line is smart when we're in a situation where we have potential things that are going to go on in the future that are real, like water infrastructure is going to collapse, and as it has been. There's so many more things that we need reserved monies for, but in a situation where we're looking around other municipalities and we're seeing 7, 8, 9, 10% increases, for us to be able to have a 2% increase and being able to put back into reserves, that to me makes a heck of a lot more sense than cutting back to a 0 or less than a 0, a 1.8% decrease, and putting ourselves in a situation again where we're simply not contributing anything to the possibility of what could happen in the next year to come. It just doesn't make sense to me to do that. As much as I would love to pay 1.8% less taxes than I did last year, to me it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So I appreciate your perspective, and I can see where you're coming from on that for sure. But it's that the valuation of the properties are going up, therefore everyone's taxes are already going up. We did agree through many long days to get to a number with all of our goals and everything that we fought back and forth on for a budget that makes sense. We can still achieve all of those goals with the budget laid out. And give our community back a gift. With the infrastructure, I agree, water is a huge issue, and which is great. We talked about this at one of our last council meetings, that there could be some extra money available to go into the funds for that infrastructure, which is another fantastic opportunity that council is sitting on. So it's not that we're literally looking at the exact same budget that we already agreed on. What happened was there was a huge increase of values in house.
Get that.
Okay, so there's a whole bunch more taxes, a whole bunch more fees everyone's already paying, and then we're gonna throw another 3 point whatever on top of it. So for me, it just makes sense, logically, to not tax everyone to death when they already are, and this still achieves all of our goals for a budget we already agreed on.
Tim?
Yeah, I really like option 1. To leave it unchanged. I'm not in favor of going to the 1.8. To Councillor Payne's point, we've got so many things coming down the line. We don't know what our costs will look like. We look at tariffs, everything else. If we put it at 0, that would have been a really good goal for us in our budget conversations, but based on our needs, we couldn't get there. We ended up at 3.38. So as far as I'm concerned, a 0% increase, being able to put some stuff into our reserves to look forward and to be preparing for who knows what in the next year or 2 years. We had lengthy conversations about reserves, and so I'd be happy with option 1 and just leave them unchanged. So 0% increase.
Councillor Rillian?
I really want to see money into reserves. We have depleted it, and if there's nothing there, there's nothing to take, and it just means more debt, and we don't want that. And so, I mean, especially when it comes to infrastructure like water. And that is, I mean, what have we said over this whole conversation? It's just water, 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 and it's money. It's big money. And I'd sooner take a little bit now and, you know, I mean, if we can decrease from what we thought we were going to do, I think that's fantastic. I think that's a great opportunity to celebrate that, but also I'm really want to see money in the reserves.
Councillor Parsons?
There's so much change in the world right now that and I was told years ago that you have to have some increase every year. You can't go 0, or else you're going to pay for it down the line. And we have so many things that are unknown, inflation, and like our reserves are they're depleted, and we need to look at them. But I think the tax rate right now is reasonable compared to everybody else and our neighbors everywhere else. So I think option 1.
Mayor Hansen?
I I flip-flopped a little here, which is why I've been hesitating to jump in. Option 1 with some reserve would be really important to me. I guess my question is around the communications we've done around this budget. What happens when there's a dramatic change like this? Do we update all of our budget materials that are found online so that somebody looking can now get accurate information? Or how does that conversation change?
Yeah, through the chair, good question. I think we would certainly, there'll be a communication going out, working with the comms department on what the final budget came in at and rates. I don't know if we would look at, I'd have to, talk to the communications department about that. I don't know if we go back and change all our material at this point, but we would certainly, update it with new information, for sure.
And I guess as the follow-up to that, if one of the option was, if we've got some consensus that option 1 is the option, but we could delay that decision to the next meeting, I don't hate that option if we can update materials quickly in between and ensure we have a chance to communicate that, because any of these options is a quite dramatic difference than what we've already communicated.
Well, I'm not sure we should kick this can down the road a heck of a lot further. That's my thought. Let's go around for a second round, just expressing what you feel is your option.
Yeah, as previously mentioned, option 1, and timing-wise, I don't mind the fact if we communicate things and we get some numbers, and it doesn't really affect anything, Mr. Moore, by delaying it 1 meeting, does it?
Sure. No.
So I'm fine with. I would stick with option 1 and get some communication out and bring it back for a motion next meeting.
Councillor Rillian?
Well, initially I was going to go with option 3, just because I really like the amount more. But just hearing the conversation around the table as far as even the assessment, bringing it up that much more and all of that kind of thing, then I'll go with option 1, because then it stays, the rate's unchanged from last year, but it's still a rate.
Councillor Dakin?
Okay, but option 1 has the raising the recreation levy and raising the transportation levy. Option 2 is not increasing the recreation levy and not increasing the transportation levy, which is another tax and another tax. This option is to leave the core municipal rates unchanged from 2025 from last year. So for me, it's 5 all day, because it's a budget we already agreed on. You've heard it, I'm long-winded with it, I'm passionate about it, but if I had to go down one, I'd go to option 2 without a raise in the levies of recreation and without a raise in levy of transportation.
Mr. Moore, can you clarify or just give us some information on where we are in terms of recreation and transportation, what monies we have that are necessary to be replenished?
Yes, of course. So our recreation levy is currently $194,000. It hasn't been increased since before the Nexor Center was built, and that's the amount that is the debt payment on that facility. So the reason that we proposed an increase was there to give RCT some additional funding annually for various projects, capital or operating in nature, because it's been quite a few years since it's been increased, and there's no other funding source for capital projects for RCT. The raising transportation levy by $700, same thing. We just raised it 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe it was during before COVID. No, it's about 2 or 3 years ago. And prior to that, it hadn't been increased for quite a number of years. And so it'd be nice to get that increased. Just, the cost of construction and road projects continues to go up, and our levies aren't keeping up with inflation. We know we've got reduced grants coming from other levels of government, so I think, this helps bridge that gap.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parsons?
Well, exactly what, listening to that, and there hasn't been raises. We haven't kept up with the inflation on the raises for the levies. Is something that'll be if you think about it, and I didn't, but yeah, until the other day, the Arena 2 in Nexar Center is going to be 20 years old. And it's time to, we have to keep up with the maintenance and preventive maintenance and whatnot. So that's kind of what this whole plan is all about with the levies and the transportation levies. And if we haven't been keeping up with it going forward, we're always trying to cut back. And I do understand what Councillor Dakin's saying. I honestly do, but it's tough running a town. And there's so many things, so many moving parts, and you just have to be reasonable about it. So let's go to Red Deer, and it's 10.5. Okay, so they've missed something there. So I think we just go the course.
Mayor Hansen?
I'd be okay with option 1, but if we have the possibility to make that final decision after some communication, that would be my preference.
Okay. Well, my option is, for so many years, for all the years that I've been on council, a dozen years, we have worked tirelessly to not have an increase. And we had so many years where we were so minimal in our increase and not contributing into, planning for the future. We find ourselves now in a situation where we're getting close to our debt limit, where we're going to have to borrow for continual things as we go forward, knowing they're coming. Like, not one of those things where it's a maybe, it's an absolute. I think about, the infrastructure problems that we're having. I'm thinking about the fact that we haven't spent time thinking about what's going to happen in the years to come. And those years to come are coming a lot quicker than not. I like option 1. I like contributing back into reserves. I don't like the idea of having to continually borrow for things that come up. I don't like the idea of getting closer and closer to that debt limit. I don't like the idea of not planning for the future. I thought we worked really hard to make it work for everyone as best we could, but going into a situation where we're not accounting for inflation, we're not accounting for the fact that everything costs more now than it did 2 years ago. Everything costs, and it's going to cost more a year from now than it does now. I'm very much in favor I would be in favor of a slight increase, to be honest, but considering that we are running continually in a debt situation, I would be in favor of option 1. I do think that having the time to mull this over between now and the next council meeting is a valuable thing to give us some options to think about this and to have this come back. So if it's the will of council, maybe that's where we leave this right now. We don't do anything with this in terms of motions. We simply belay that motion until the next council meeting. Ms. Osmond, is that something that is appropriate?
Certainly, we had discussed that option, and we can certainly do that. We can put out, the public has seen the draft agenda. Now there's a change. We could certainly make sure they have access to the new numbers, and we could indicate the decisions being made, so there's a chance for input. And I don't see that would negatively, in terms of the timing for bylaws and stuff here, Mr. Moore is still good.
Okay, so considering every municipality adjacent to us is increasing substantially, a 0% increase, I think, is more than fair, considering where we are. I think the majority of council seems to think that option 1 is something we should explore. So if we are able to move forward with at least the communication and the understanding that we're going to make our final decision in the next council meeting. Ms. Osmond?
I just want to be clear that we would be communicating to the public, not 6 options, but that council is looking at option 1. That
Correct.
This is the option that's being proposed. If that's the way you go this evening, yes.
I see your hand.
Okay, but I think that if the public knew the options, then you guys would get a fair opinion from the community.
we can certainly circulate this report with the numbers, and then I think if that does it.
But I'm the one with my feathers ruffled about it, so, I mean, if you want just number one, I think communication of all the options that are in front of us, not everybody knows where to find the agenda, you know? So, I just think there's 6 options in front of us, and it's good to have feedback from the community about the 6 options.
I do think that it's important for people to be informed, but I also think it's important for people to make a decision to inform themselves somewhat. If this is public, if this is out there, I believe that's something that needs to be understood. If we are, as council, making a decision, which is our job to make, you know, I think we let the public know that council feels option 1 is the best option. However, you know, if you want to seek out the other options, they're available. They're available in a public record. They can look them up. I would like very much to move on this, but if 2 weeks from now is when we're going to move on this, then so be it. Yeah. Councilor Mearns?
Yeah, further to your point, I guess delaying it, what are we accomplishing? Other than, I guess that's my question. What are we accomplishing by delaying it by a week?
Well,
2 weeks, sorry.
I think the only thing that's looking to be accomplished is a better communication understanding. The only thing that, you know, wanting the public to understand that, hey, we came out with 3.38%. We're now telling you it's 0%, you know, and having people understand the reasons why. I think it would be a very confusing situation to have that suddenly be that situation. And the question I would have as a citizen is, why wasn't it 0% 3 months ago? So I think it's just the communication piece is the reason why you would delay, in as much as I believe 2 weeks from now we'll probably arrive to the same decision. But making sure that people understand the decision and understand why we're making that decision, I think, is an important piece. Any other thoughts? Well, then I think we belay this and come back to it in 2 weeks. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
That brings us to 7J. Well, I feel like we just had 2 meetings right there. 7J, social care sites, developer request. Hello, Ms. Lamanis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the purpose of this report is for Council to consider a request made by the developers of 60 West and Crestview neighborhoods to consider a different approach to the social care sites in their respective neighborhoods. The town has made efforts to promote the development of social care facilities by identifying specific sites in the outline plans for new neighborhoods for the development of adult care residences, churches, daycare centers, or other social care options. As part of this approach, the town currently requires the developer to identify 2 social care sites in their outline plans, which are to be publicly advertised for a period of 1 year once those sites are subdivided. If no proposal comes forward within that time frame, the lands are no longer required to be held as a social care site and can be rezoned for other development as stated in the outline plan. Administration has been approached by the developers of 60 West and Crestview neighborhoods to consider a different approach to the social care sites within their neighborhoods. Both developers have social care sites in upcoming phases that have attracted interested parties that are eager to develop higher density housing projects. Administration is aware that there are challenges with the current process and resulting low success rates in developing these sites for the intended social care purpose. The challenges include that sites are selected by the developers during very initial stages of neighborhood planning that result in sites that may not meet the size and location requirements of interested social care facility builders that come along after it is subdivided. In addition to this, the one-year advertising time frame after the site is subdivided does not provide enough time for an interested party to negotiate the purchase of the land, and more time may be needed to see if these lands actually meet their desired development purpose. The sites would only be advertised with signage on the property once it has been subdivided, which may make it difficult for those looking to be aware of their existence within the one-year time period. Developers also have their own challenges associated with the current practice. The subdivision process can take several months, and combined with the one-year advertising requirement for the site can often mean that potential development is delayed, leading to a loss of investment opportunities for new housing developments if that particular site being held is not claimed for a social care development. A developer would also have to pay increased taxes on the subdivided social care sites while they wait for those opportunities that often do not come to fruition. In efforts to assist with these challenges, administration recently has allowed the developers to initiate the one-year advertising period prior to subdivision by placing a sign on the lands indicating its availability as a social care site. As previously noted, the developers are currently engaging with interested parties for these two sites, although their focus is to develop higher density residential housing, such as apartments or row housing, rather than social care facilities. Given the current economic climate and prevailing uncertainties, the developers worry that they may lose investment interest despite the accommodation for early advertising of the site, and they request that the sites identified in Attachment 1 be released from their obligation as a social care site. Both developers have provided letters indicating a commitment to provide future social care sites elsewhere in their development, and those are provided in your agenda package as Attachment 2. As Council is aware, the town currently has a rental vacancy rate of just 0.6%, as well as low inventory of homes for sale. Recognizing the town's housing shortage and current high investment interest for development, administration proposes a revised approach to ensure future opportunities for social care facility development exists, while also supporting new housing projects. Administration recommends that the developers maintain visible signage in the neighborhood that indicates social care site opportunities are available and include developer contact information. The signage would be required to remain on the lands until the neighborhood is fully developed, which would allow more time and flexibility in creating appropriate sites that meet the needs of an interested social care facility builder. The town will also promote these opportunities on our housing webpage once it is operational, which will help organizations interested in developing a social care facility search and make those connections for suitable sites. Administration is not recommending any amendments to the outline plans at this time to accommodate the developer's request. However, adjustments to the social care sections will be included in future outline plan amendments that are brought forward. Administration recommends Council approve the request to release the developer's obligation to the specified social care sites to allow for new housing development. And the resolution is before you in your agenda package, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lemanis. Are there any questions for Katrina? No? Do we have a motion to put on the floor? Councillor Rilling?
I move the Council approve the request to release the developer's obligation to the identified care sites in the 60 West and Crestview neighborhoods as presented in AIR 1119.
Okay. Any discussion? No? I'll call the question. All in favor? Excellent. Any opposed? Okay, that's passed. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Lemanis. Up next, we have the Housing Accelerator Action Plan Secondary Suite Loan Program.
Thank you. So I'd like to present for Council to Council for approval the Secondary Suite Loan Program and the Secondary Suite Loan Program Management Agreement. The Secondary Suite Loan Program is one of the town's Housing Accelerator Action Plan initiatives intended to help fulfill our Housing Accelerator Fund, or HAF, commitment to issue permits for a total of 26 new secondary suites. This initiative supports the development of additional housing units in our community that provide smaller, more affordable options for smaller household sizes. The loan program accounts for 13 of the 26 committed secondary suite units, with the other 13 attributed to the land use bylaw amendments regarding secondary suites approved by Council in July 2024. Administration had presented an overview of the preliminary loan program in September of 2024, with some of the challenges to the program posed by the MGA, namely the restrictions on a municipality to issue loans. To remedy this challenge, it was determined that the town would pursue establishing its own nonprofit society to support the implementation of the loan program, in that the society would not be subject to the restrictions of the MGA in its ability to issue loans. With direction and support from legal, the Homes for Sylvan Foundation was incorporated on December 18th, 2024. With the foundation now in place, the town can move forward with the secondary suite loan program and grant to the foundation the necessary funds to provide homeowners with a no-interest loan of up to $30,000 to develop a secondary suite in a new or existing home. Administration has budgeted approximately $505,000 from the HAF grant to develop and fund this initiative, which could provide up to 15 loans depending on the amount of each loan. The secondary suite loan program will be managed by the Homes for Sylvan Foundation, and legal has drafted an agreement between the town and the foundation that outlines how the program is to be administered. The secondary suite loan program management agreement is included as attachment 1 to this report and is being presented to Council for approval prior to the foundation's approval and acceptance. This agreement specifies that the foundation will be responsible for approving and advancing the loans, collecting payments, record retention, and annual reporting to the town of Sylvan Lake, as well as managing instances of default. The agreement also specifies that the monies granted to the foundation are to only be used for the sole purpose of administering the secondary suite loan program. Any funds granted to the foundation that are not used for this purpose must be returned to the town before the end of the HAF program, including if the HAF program is canceled early by the federal government. The loans that are repaid to the foundation over time may be used by the foundation for other future affordable housing initiatives that would be brought forward to Council to consider. The loan program criteria provided in attachment 2 outlines the specifics of the program that may provide up to a $30,000 interest-free loan for eligible expenses of a new secondary suite or garage suite. If Council approves the program, administration would begin accepting applications starting April 15th, 2025. Loans would be awarded on a first-come, first-served basis for those who qualify until the close of the program on December 1st, 2026, or until funds are exhausted. In the case that the funds are exhausted prior to the end of the program, administration will bring a report forward to Council to consider topping up the program with additional funding or officially discontinue the loan program. Successful applicants will be required to enter into a loan agreement with the foundation that will be secured by a mortgage registered on title. The loans will be repaid in monthly installments over a period of 60 months with no penalty for early repayment. The loans will be advanced in 2 stages, with 75% provided up front and the remaining 25% provided following building inspection approval and proof of eligible expenses. The program also provides options for up to $5,000 of loan forgiveness for a minimum $30,000 loan if an applicant provides the suite at an affordable rate, which could count towards achieving our 30 Housing Accelerator Fund affordable housing units, or if they integrate accessibility features for those with mobility challenges. So looking at the affordability commitment option, it would provide a forgiveness amount of $1,000 for each year the suite is rented at an affordable rate, up to a maximum of $5,000 over 5 years. The affordable rate will be determined by the town and will be based on the annual rental rate data collected by WCC for vacant rental units. These rates reflect the average rates that someone looking for a rental rate at that time could expect to pay. To qualify for the loan forgiveness, the suite must be rented at 10% below the town established market rates at the time of entering into the loan agreement, confirmed at the end of each year by a signed lease agreement and attestation signed by the renter and landlord. The rate identified in the loan agreement will be frozen for the entire 5-year term with a permissible small annual increase to help offset potential increased expenses incurred by the landlord, including property tax and utility rates. If an applicant wishes to withdraw out of the affordability commitment, they may do so at the end of the first full year or any year after, but they would then forego any further loan forgiveness. The accessibility features option provides up to a maximum of $5,000 in loan forgiveness for new suites that include accessibility features that allow a resident with mobility challenges to live as independently as possible. To qualify, the suite must include a minimum number of features, including that the suite must have a wheelchair accessible entrance that is accommodated by either an at-grade entrance, such as a walkout basement, or wheelchair lift for interior access. Also must include minimum turning diameter, doorway and hallway widths, and also must provide either a barrier-free shower or walk-in tub. If council approves the proposed loan program and management agreement, administration will begin officially launching the program and its promotion. And before any loans are approved, the first meeting of the Homes for Sylvan Foundation will be scheduled to confirm the board of directors, their roles, as well as to approve the loan management agreement. Administration proposes that council authorize an initial grant of $170,000 to the Homes for Sylvan Foundation to cover an initial 5 loans and administrative costs required by the foundation to review and award the loans as outlined in the report. As loan program applications warrant, administration will bring forward requests to grant additional funds to the foundation to award additional loans. Administration recommends council approve the secondary suite loan program and the secondary suite loan program management agreement as presented and approve an initial grant of $170,000 to the Homes for Sylvan Foundation. And the resolutions are before you in your agenda package, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lemanis. Any questions for Ms. Lemanis at this point? No? Okay, then there is room for a series of motions. Yes, Councillor Dakin.
I move that council approve the secondary suite loan program as presented in AIR 1118 and authorize administration to begin implementing the program, and that council approve the secondary suite loan program management agreement as presented in AIR 1118, and that council approve an initial grant to the Homes for Sylvan Foundation from the town in the amount of $170,000 funded by the Housing Accelerator Fund dollars received to date from CMHC to support the secondary loan suite program as presented in AIR 1118.
It's a good motion. Any discussion? Any conversation? Okay. If there's none, then let's call the question. All in favor? And opposed? There's none. That is carried. Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Lemanis. Let's see where we are. Page 174, the electronic scooter pilot program.
Project work plans.
Oh, because because
she
Megan took it
removed
off.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Let's do the L 2025 project work plan from economic development. Page
Good
160.
evening, Mayor and Council. So for the project work plan, I understand that there are some questions. Did you want me to review the plan at all?
Well, let's start by getting Mayor Hansen's question on the floor so we can know how much you need to review.
Sure, thank you. My question is just around, in conversations over the last year, we've learned how needed accommodation is for us to really progress in our tourism-based community ask. And I'm wondering if there's any place in the plan that that could be identified as a priority.
Well, I think, Ms. Mercer, if we address that, I think we may be able to move forward.
Sounds good, and I will defer to Ms. Devlin.
Sure, thank you. Administration recommends that council wait until the Destination Leadership Management Plan is complete, which we are anticipating to be done before summer or early summer. We'll be coming back to you within the next several months before we further pursue hotel attraction. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of those is that we will have the feasibility study for the waterside site completed at that time. So we'll have that information and we'll be able to share that with interested parties. And we can also reach out to Travel Alberta, and at that time we can connect with their investor concierge service to assist us as well.
Mayor Hansen, how do you feel about that answer?
That works for me. I look forward to discussing that in a couple of months. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there anything further you wanted to discuss, Ms. Mercer, or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Excellent. Any other questions for Amanda? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mercer.
Thank you.
Do we have to move it? Why do you have to confuse things with motions and protocol and procedure? My gosh.
I got you.
Okay, Mr. Mearns. Ms. Mearns.
I make a motion that council approves the 2025 Economic Development Project Work Plan as presented in AIR 1083.
Okay, any discussion? No, let's vote on that. All in favor? Excellent. And opposed? Good, that is passed unanimously. Excellent. Now we get to move on to the electronic scooter pilot program. And Ms. Mercer, you don't get to get up and leave.
Happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity this evening. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with an opportunity to discuss next steps for the pilot program and also make a decision on our moving into the permanent program. In November, at the Committee of the Whole meeting, Council requested that administration look at bringing back this program as a permanent program in 2025. And so we have gone out to our provider and requested an agreement that reflects that permanent program. It's very similar to the temporary or the pilot program that we ran. And that. So Council has So this program aligns with Council's strategic direction to the guiding principles of continuous improvement and collaborative interaction, and the priorities of the economic development strategy to establish a partnership with local and regional businesses to support events and programs, and attract investment and seek opportunities to diversify the economy. Communications strategy for this project follow along the same as what we've been doing. So we have a website page. We forward all complaints to Neuron to help facilitate responses to those and address issues. And we work with them very closely to adapt and modify as need be if there is no ride zones that are required for special events or special circumstances throughout the year. And that's been working very well. Council has some options available to them this evening. You may accept the report as information and direct council not to proceed with the e-scooter program in 2025. You may request we bring back some additional information, or you may make a motion to approve the request to execute the 2025 to 2027 operator agreement with Neuron Mobility to provide e-scooter services in Sylvan Lake. And administration respectfully recommends that council make a motion to approve administration's request to execute the 2025 to 2027 operator agreement with Neuron Mobility to provide e-scooter services in Sylvan Lake as presented in AIR 1025.
Excellent. So at this point, any questions for clarity, concerns, thoughts, anything you want to say? Councillor Rilling?
I want to say, no, page 183, under response and resolution timeframes. Maybe it's a non-issue, but thinking that one of them maybe on a railway track and leave it there all night until the morning probably wouldn't be a good idea. But maybe that's never been an issue and never, I mean, obviously it's examples. So, but just reading through it, I was like, that could create a much bigger problem, could it not?
Yes, so in the case where we receive a complaint that there's a scooter on the railroad tracks in the middle of the night,
yeah.
I would hope and expect that the person receiving or giving the complaint would just haul that off of there.
Well, that's what I assume, but just seeing it here kind of alarmed me a little bit, that's all.
Yep.
It's not a big deal, but could be. Just a thought, just a question, that's all.
Any other thoughts? Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Parsons.
I love the program. So I just want to make the motion.
You go right ahead.
All right. Move that council approves administration's request to execute the 2025-2027 operator agreement with Neuron Mobility to provide e-scooter services in Sylvan Lake as presented in AIR 102025.
Excellent. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have correspondence and information items. Is there anything there that's being presented or just moving forward? Excellent. Just moving forward it is. We have the very last CAO report from the wonderful Miss Osmond.
Deputy Mayor Ping, can I ask a question?
No. Of course you can.
It's just around the correspondence and information items. My question's around the Q4 2024 Recreation and Culture quarterly report, and I'm wondering if we can receive information on the Nexus Center memberships. And curious how they stack up in 2024 versus previous years.
Good evening. So Mayor Hanson, to answer your question, it is a little bit difficult when we're looking at just individual memberships and to actually come up with a really good number. So the way that our system will capture them, it will take everything all together. So it could be a 10 pass, for example, 1 month of all different types. So infant, child, student, family, all the way to the 1 year and the summer passes. So I did pull some data and I looked at what we had for active memberships, which is probably the closest that I could get for some really good information for you. So in 2023, we ended the year with 2,087 active memberships. And of December 31st, 2024, we ended with 3,032 active memberships. It's hard to say why we have variances throughout the year. It could be something as simple as, a number of infants, for example, are progressing onto a child membership. And so that's why you're seeing differences in those numbers. What I tend to do is look at our financials every month and see where we're sitting, because really at the end of the day, you're not getting any of that revenue until that month. For example, if it's a 1 month pass, until it's actually done that month. That's how you've earned that revenue. So when we're looking year by year, we have seen an increase in the membership's revenue. But with that, you could expect to see, and we did see that with this year, is there was a decrease in the admission rates. Really, the intent is with the memberships, they're at a lower cost, especially for the 6 month and the 1 year. We want to have residents coming and do a full year membership, whereas the individual passes, I would say, or those individual memberships just coming for the day. It's really intended for the visitors to our community, come enjoy the amenities. It is at an increased cost. So I think looking at the numbers, with the revenues going up for the memberships, I'm anticipating that the admissions would be going down and then more residents are getting the memberships. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. And maybe it's a follow-up request for next year's reporting on page 239 of our agenda, or 39 of the highlights there. I guess I was a bit shocked when I saw 1 year, oh, there's only 188 memberships. I thought, in my memory, that seems really low. So I guess I wonder if there's a better way to demonstrate, and like you said, it's probably active memberships in future years so that we can see that comparison from year to year. But the table that's in there might not be the most effective way to convey that.
You are 100% correct. So this table here is only, I guess, calculating the Q4, so that October, November, and December, and what memberships are coming in at that time, which is not a truly an accurate reflection of over the year. So perhaps we can look at the purchase memberships with the actives and try to break that down a little bit better so you have a better understanding of what that data actually means.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Mayor Hansen? I don't want to.
That is all. Thank you.
Excellent, that sounded very clear. Okay, so just increase the anticipation. CAO report.
The first thing I want to mention is the council action list, and just that we are being careful right now to identify on the list for items, motions that require follow-up. The person who is carrying the ball is identified and a specific date when it comes back. If council has any concern about that date, then please let us know. We can have a discussion about what the reasons are and whether we can adjust it to meet your expectations. But we just thought it would be better if we had that discussion up front and could try to make sure the time frames match with your requirements. With regard to the Wellness and Community Connections, they were awarded the Rural Mental Health Project Grant of $25,000, which will fund Neighbor Day, Growing Gardeners, micro grants, collective kitchen, and a social master plan update. So staff continue to pursue those sources of funds for new programs and existing ones. April 30th, we have the Volunteer Information Fair, and that's at the Wellness and Community Connection Center Gymnasium. Parks and Protective Services, Emergency Management has been coordinating with local company Fire and Flood to provide a fire suppression plan for the west side of town, and that's in the event of a slow-moving fire. The draft plan has been received and is currently being reviewed. So basically, just letting you know that there's considerable thought and work going into making sure that, worst case scenario, we have water to address every possibility there. March 20th to 21st, Lakeshore Drive tree pruning will be occurring. Well, that has occurred, I should say. Ladders at the end of the pier have been removed and the new ones will be installed in the spring. West Meadows Cemetery, the new columbarium has been procured and we're expecting to have it in place by July. Parkland Drive playground replacement has been tendered and a proponent selected. Existing equipment and servicing to be removed in June and new playground installed and ready for use at the beginning of July. So Pogetto Park, Phase 4 detailed design has commenced with the landscape components, and that's the multi-purpose field, 2 natural grass fields, irrigation, and soft landscaping. Planning and Development, you'll see attached the February new business licenses, and the Housing Accelerator Fund annual report has been accepted and approved by CMHC, and that'll get us our second payment of $1,371,357.50. So we should get that by the end of the month. Public Works, sanitary flushing continues in Hewlett Park. We have been presented we had two staff, Logan Gibbig and Monique Johnson, presented on the goldfish infestation at the 2025 Alberta Wastewater and Wastewater Operators Association Conference. And pressure valve reduction. The third and last pressure reducing valve has been installed on Old Boomer. And basically what that will do, once completed, we should be able to have better ability to manage our water system. And that's the first step in the much larger project, of course, of the water sustainability project. The Scramble Crosswalk, which will be new for the community, the engineering to create that intersection has been completed. The tender for construction will be posted first week of April, and the expectation of work beginning by July 1st. Recreation, facilities and next source, ice removal, of course, will happen right now this week. April 4th and 5th, the Sylvan Lake Hometown Trade Show at the Next Source, and that's hosted by the Sylvan Lake News. April 18th to 24th, additional stick and puck at it for spring break. The 22nd to the 25th, spring break schools out day camp. And sport field allocation schedule is in the process of being created. And contracts will be finalized and sent to users by the second week of April. Aquatics and programs, spring and summer activity registration is open for viewing, and online registration opens on the 8th. Special events, the town will partner with the Sylvan Lake News to create the Summer 2025 Visitors Guide, and that'll come out in May. And Earth Day, April 22nd, Culture Parks and the WCC have teamed up to offer an event at the Healing Hub from 4 to 7, and including a bring your own container planning party and Indigenous teaching and more. Economic development, our EDO's term as chair of the Economic Developers Alberta ends this month. And our EDO also attended the Catalyst Incubator Celebration event, which celebrates entrepreneurs who have completed the incubator program. And that's basically helps them evaluate their business ideas. And we did have a couple of those people were from our area. So, and that's it.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. I would like council to know that there's probably 50% more that was cut in order to keep it brief. So.
Well, we appreciate the effort. Are there any questions for Ms. Osmond? No? Excellent. You have a question for Ms. Osmond?
I don't have a question. I have a thank you. Thank you so much. It has been incredible to have you here.
Thank you very much.
I feel like we did that.
You did.
I feel like I feel like we did that 6 years ago.
Yeah. That's right.
Deja vu. Do we want to have you come back 5 years from now again?
No, it's a one-time deal, sir.
Tickets bunch, yeah, no more. Council requests for information and updates. Councillor Dakin.
It's been brought up to me a few times lately. How come the pool's so cold? Can we make it warmer?
It's winter.
You know, as a former director of recreation, I do know what the answer is, but I'll let the meeting.
Everyone's like, we go to Red Deer because it's so cold at our pool.
So the pool itself is about 30 degrees. If we were to make it warmer, and we certainly can, you would be reducing the amount of people that would come in that are triathlon swimmers or the swim club. Swim club would not be able to practice in a pool that's too warm. It just wouldn't be safe for them. They would overheat. So we do try to keep it at 30. The swim club would actually prefer that we keep it lower than that. Yeah, so it is a balancing act. A lot of facilities have a swimming pool and a separate top pool, and the top pool is the one that's typically warmer, and so that's why they tend to find it a little bit more comfortable for their littles, but we're trying to balance all of the users in the pool.
So no warmth?
We will do whatever council wishes, but I don't recommend it.
If I may, it is a very common problem for pools. It's a big challenge trying to keep all the multiple users happy.
Well, if you make it too cool, you can turn it into pond hockey. That'd be kind of fun. Councillor Parsons.
It's not a request of anything, but just to mention the hockey game tomorrow night. Wranglers have a chance to get rid of Okotoks, which would be a lead into the Gulls season. So anyway, it's game 3 and they're up 2-0. So it should be a packed house tomorrow night. So we can all go over there after our meeting. Just mentioning it.
Excellent. Anyone else? Mayor Henson, you usually have something to throw in here.
I do. Curious if we have a date or a approximate timeline for the housing summit yet.
Through the chair to your worship, we haven't scheduled one as of yet, and administration may need to bring some information back to council at an upcoming committee of the whole to get further clarity on some goals and outcomes for the housing summit, as I think administration may need a little more direction on that prior to establishing it so that expectations are aligned from both administration and council.
That would be great. If I could just encourage, the sooner we can have that conversation, the better. We had spoken a number of times about that taking place in Q1. So, and that is what we had told interested parties that would like to attend. So they're looking at us that Q1 is over. When is it happening? So the sooner we can discuss, the better.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Okay. Notices of motion. There are none. Excellent. We are going to go into a short recess before a closed meeting. So, Councillor Mearns.
Make this motion that the regular meeting of council continue with the closed session to discuss the following lease agreement. This item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 24(1) of FOIP and section 197(2) of the MGA.
Excellent. So we're going to recess for about 3.5 minutes and meet in the back room to discuss this. We're good? Okay, so let's resume this open meeting, and we need a motion to come out of camera.
I make a motion that the closed session concludes and council reverts back to the regular meeting of council.
Excellent. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We have a motion arriving from earlier business, so I'll make that motion. I move that council directs administration to communicate to the public that assessment numbers have changed, the discussion around budget, and further that administration communicate preferred option 1 to the public as well as all 6 options in report AIR 1125, and further that council table decision on report AIR 1125 to the regular meeting of April 14th, 2025. That is my motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None? Excellent. That is carried unanimously. We have come to the end of our agenda, so this meeting is adjourned.